Hello, welcome to Scary Thoughts, Horror, Philosophy, Culture. I'm Mark Kate.
And I'm Chad Lott.
This is episode 126. We're going to be talking about Final Destination Bloodlines, the Zach Lipovsky, Adam B. Stein film from 2025. You can email us at whatthe, W-H-A-T-T-H-E, at scarythoughts.org. Okay, spoilers ahead.
Nice.
So I was very upset to learn a few minutes ago that you didn't like this movie.
Well, I thought you picked it because of like a goof. You know how sometimes we'll go for a long time when we'll be busy and we'll pick something kind of intentionally dumb because we think it's going to be a pretty light lift.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought was going on here.
Oh, wow. See, I saw it and I was like, that was great. And I texted you, let's do Bloodlines.
I feel like as soon as a movie in a deep franchise has a colon, the whatever,
yeah,
it's over. Or it's like it's already been over, and this is real over.
Wow, I'm prepared to say that this is the best of the franchise.
It might be,
which it might be because you, for some reason, have never seen any of the others, as far as you know.
I know. Well, so I was like, surely I've seen 2 or 3 of these movies.
Yeah.
Like they were popular in the early 2000s. But then I thought to myself, actually in the early 2000s, I was riding motorcycles and doing drugs and having fun outside. I saw the least amount of movies I'd ever seen in the early 2000s.
Right.
Prior to that, like I worked in a movie theater. I saw fucking everything.
Yeah.
But so I might have seen this in 1999, the first one in 1999 or 2000 when it came out. I might have seen that. And I've definitely seen the famous log death scene from Final Destination 2.
Good.
Like it's great, you know, I give it to him, but I don't have any like super strong love for this movie. I definitely haven't seen 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
But I have seen 6.
I've seen all of them twice. Andy and I watched 1 through 5, and then I rewatched 1 through 5 when I noticed that they were all on Max, and then I watched this one twice. Oh, I just have to say as an aside, I watched it, and then I said to Monique, for our listeners, my wife, I'm going to rewatch Bloodlines. Do you want to watch it with me? She was like, pretty much nope. And I was like, well, it's what I'm watching. I need to for the podcast. And so she watched it with me. A lot of it through fingers gripping her face. And afterwards, she's in bed reading Sense and Sensibility. And I'm like,
a little palate cleanser.
Totally. And I'm like, what'd you think of the movie? And she just like shakes her head. She's like, it was cruel and unseemly. Like she just like
I think that's totally what they were going for sure.
I know. She just kind of had this thing of like, what does it mean when a culture takes pleasure in that level of violence? I'm like, I don't know, because it's cool.
Yeah, I can't imagine wanting to watch this movie twice because it's a little bit like Jackass, although I've seen Jackass a million times. And that like once you've seen it, the gag, that's kind of it, you know? And I will say the kills in the franchise have been very strong. Like, I think even
generally
like someone is having a lot of fun writing these.
Yep.
I think the red herrings, little switcheroos can be a little annoying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sometimes they're good. Like, for example, I thought the opening scene of this movie was phenomenal. Like the whole thing, it's like completely opulent filmmaking.
Yep.
The colors, I mean, a little CGI, but the colors are really like boosted and cool. And I love 60s anything. And like, you know, the idea of this like bullshit finger in the sky restaurant thing is so Playboy Club. Yeah. And then just the way it walks out to me makes a lot of sense. But I knew immediately the little kid had survived and that he was the franchise's magical Negro.
Oh, really?
As a child. I just could, even not having not seen it, I was like, oh, that's going to be that guy. Like,
right.
Because you don't see him die explicitly, you know?
Yeah. But then you didn't like the rest of the movie.
I think anytime any of the characters are in conversation, the movie drags so fucking bad.
Huh.
Yeah, it's such a draggy movie with just hammy bad acting the whole time.
Wow, I totally disagree.
Yeah, I thought the acting was pretty terrible.
Huh.
Which is usually I don't care. I'm pretty agnostic about acting. I thought even the acting in the opening scene was terrible, but the the camera movement and the color is so cool.
Yeah, I felt like the intro was maybe purposefully stilted a bit because it had a little bit of the Leave It to Beaverness, you know, the like, golly gee.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
also been like 14 years since this happened. You know, there's been one of these movies, so I felt like it was a little dialed up. Like the opening scene has all the Easter eggs in it, like the song, the Ring of Fire, the 180, like all the shit is all present in this one, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, interesting. Your experience of this movie is a little bit my experience of Sinners, where like the first half hour. Did you see Sinners?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first half hour I thought was like awesome. I was so in it, loved being in that world, brilliant characters, and then it just went somewhere I just could not connect with at all.
We talked about covering or not covering Sinners, and I left it being like, okay, I just watched Tyler Perry's From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
You know, and it definitely had the whole like, I get it. It's like a super black movie and we all have to fucking love it. I felt like there was a little bit of that prestigeness around it.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, there's a whole lot to like about that movie. I think the twin performances is usually terrible in films. Like one person playing two people, it's usually trash. I thought he did a great job with it.
Absolutely.
I thought the dance numbers were awesome. Even some stuff. Oh, see, I love dancing in movies, which is one of the reasons why I liked this opening.
Yeah.
But there were things like there were so like the crowd laughed in that scene where they're like dancing the ancestors from space or whatever.
On paper, like, I would have loved it, but its execution was so hokey.
Yeah, there's something about it. And I think that like a character that popped up that I liked was like the Afrofuturist guitar player. Like I was like, oh, but I'm way into that shit, right? Know. But the crowd laughed hysterically. Yes. Like, so I don't think it's meant to have been a laugh.
No, I felt like, I mean, I got whiplash in part of, God, are we just going to do an episode about
let's
Sinners?
Talk about Sinners real quick.
Just real quick.
There's not too much to Final Destination.
But this will be over soon if you haven't actually seen Sinners. But for me, it was the whiplash. Like I felt so deeply immersed in this world. And I often like movies that pull the rug out from under you, like Barbarian, you know, where you think you're watching something and it turns out you were wrong. But this like deeply sort of lowercase a authentic of the American Black experience historically, I thought was so resonant and so beautifully portrayed, and how hokey it was to have a fictionalized funkadelic wailing on a guitar was,
I mean,
like it didn't work for me.
I mean, to me though, like if you think about like Coogler as a genre director and a person who's probably, I would consider him that, like in the positive sense of it.
Yeah.
I would say it's like a hop and a skip to like, you know, Afrofuturism. I mean, he did the fucking Black Panther movies. You know what I mean? That's as Afrofuturist as it gets. And so that funkadelic thing seems appropriate for his personal mythology. And I thought it was like a developed personal mythology in the way that like a David Lynch film might be. And so to me, even though it's like a very tropey Black excellence pastiche going on in the whole thing, it felt very like true to him as a filmmaker. Like I watched his Criterion Closet thing recently, and I thought the references were just super personal, made a lot of sense for like kind of an Oakland-based filmmaker. And then but, you know, and then I thought about what he did with the vampires. He did exactly what I like. It's mostly the same shit with a tiny little twist to how the monster works. And I also love when in like a horror comedy, they'll play up like a trope. And this will bring us back to Final Destination. Like they'll play up a trope for humor. Like the whole like not coming in the door like without an invitation. It's such a stupid vampire thing that is never used in other movies, and it's such a major plot point and a point of humor in Sinners. I know it worked for me.
Yeah.
I also liked the inclusion of like the whole like the Irish in it. I thought it was kind of, you know, like I like that kind of music. I like that the guy was like fucking river dancing. I know that people don't like. Yeah, it's like the dancing. I love the dancing in the movie, like all the way through. But yeah,
that was our mini Sinners review for our Patreon subscribers.
And I won't spoil it, but I thought the ending was dumb as fuck.
Yes,
like it didn't make any sense with the context of like how the creatures worked at all. Is just, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of following the logic within.
Yeah. Do you think, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to butt in here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rules in the Final Destination franchise, and they're not followed.
Well, this is the thing.
And I don't care, but like, that's,
it's funny. This happens with franchises now that there have been a lot of them, and, there are rules within franchises, and now we have tracked enough franchises that there are rules about franchises.
Yeah.
It's not like the history of Western literature has the idea of, well, is that canon? I'd be curious when this concept that we all use now about something being canon was brought into the discussion.
I bet it comes with as early as radio serials, but I bet it's TV because of the speed that stories have to be developed because of those formats.
Well, I'm thinking more about literally the expression.
Oh, yeah.
Arguments about whether something is canon or not. I wonder if it first really came up around something like Buffy, where...
Or like building a Bible. Like, is this canonically...
I'm talking about literally using the word.
Okay.
In the context of discussing a series of some sort. Discussion of whether something is, quote, canon. I don't mean whether something's consistent.
Yeah.
I'm talking about literally the
included in the lore, and you have to, and therefore there will be plot related forces.
And when there are spin-offs or there's fan fiction or there's people doing their own research, whatever, then there becomes this discussion, well, is that canon?
Yeah.
And oftentimes I find it really hard when people argue about, well, what is even canon? And people decide, well, the fans decide the canon versus the actual production companies who own the property anyway. There becomes this thing where when these franchises are around long enough, they have to reckon with their canon. I know you didn't particularly love this movie. I thought it was great. I feel like it's a level up in certain, the other Final Destination movies are delightful, but they're not as expensive. They're not shot as well. They're not acted as well. The special effects are smart, but they're not done as well. This movie really was a level up. But they are, to some degree, stuck with some canonical things that were included in some of the dumber movies, if this makes sense. In the Friday the 13th series, there are so many movies, and so many of them were made hastily, and there's this nonsense inserted into them that if you're going to make a Friday the 13th movie and take it seriously, you sort of have to go, okay, well, am I going to include this bullshit from that movie and this bullshit from that movie?
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is unfortunate about this movie is obviously an opinion, but okay, you can cheat death if you die and come back to life. Okay, fine. I guess that's a weird, cute little loophole. And you can add years to your life to cheat death. If you take a life, you get that person's life. That's fucking stupid shit.
That at least makes for more of like a Highlander sort of potential situation where you're just like, I will murder 200 babies. Which is, they actually address that, they look at the baby.
Which I think it was played for laughs.
Yeah.
But I just think it's interesting. I guess what I'm kind of getting at here is that rule in the Final Destination cinematic universe was, to my mind, added stupidly from a movie that was trying to take a shortcut in screenwriting. And then you come along and you want to take this franchise seriously, and you've got to go, okay, well, there's this dumbass thing where you can add years to your life.
Yeah. It reminds me of when as a homeowner, owning a house from the 1950s, you're just constantly dealing with someone else's compromise. That's the whole time, and it makes sense, in some ways a franchise is like ball and chained to its lowest budget entry.
Yes.
Or it's like worst writer.
It's got great bones, but some asshole put in this weird circuit breaker system.
Totally.
And there's this other circuit breaker box over here.
Where does this even go?
Yeah.
Where does this even go? Why do these things turn on at the same time? It's insane. It's just, it never stops.
I'm glad it was played for lulz. That particular rule was played for a joke in this movie.
But at the end too, though, they're like, well, you didn't really die. And to me, that's the thing is like, if you're not, it doesn't matter if your heart stops. Like, who cares? Like, what's the metric for death? Like, I think dying is the metric for death, you know?
Yes.
And the whole end scene was absurd. Had the callback to the log death.
Well, you know, it was absurd. I don't know if you're...
I do like how maximalist it is. Like, it's so Looney Tunes.
Yeah. Something I did like in that is that there's a lot of fan servicing in this movie.
That's all it is.
But yeah.
Fan service is the connective tissue to the kills. That's like the whole deal.
Right. But I feel like they were a little bit smart with a lot of them. Like sometimes it's just 180 or, you know, nothing particularly interesting. It's just there. Oh my God, I caught it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like JB is the little boy grown up. So it wasn't totally member berry. It was actually something that became important to the plot. Or it's maybe less important, but you could go, oh, the logging truck. That's just like that other Final Destination logging truck.
But it's weird that as a character, like, so JB, like, you just, over the 60 years that you've been operating as a character in this franchise, you just never mentioned any of this shit before. You know, it's like
what do you mean?
Anyone, like that character.
He's been working with Iris the whole time. Do you mean he wouldn't go public with that he knows death personally and has been successfully evading him for decades?
Isn't that character in other in other franchises?
Yeah. But, in other franchises or
no,
other Final Destinations?
In other Final Destinations. Yeah. Like it's like I don't know. Like I guess it's like retconning a bunch of weird stuff. Like but that like childhood.
Wait, I don't understand. What are you saying?
Am I getting this character wrong? Like the guy who's like the coroner dude in the other ones?
Yeah.
He's the child that survives.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't he make decisions that would have, like, if you knew he was the child that had survived, he would have, it's weird that he would have just kept all those details secretly in those other films. You know, like if he has full knowledge of all this shit going on.
He shares it. He cryptically shares it with other people. Like,
right, but why cryptically? Like, doesn't make any sense.
Well, he was creepy.
I think this character is like the weakest part of the whole series.
Well, first of all, you haven't seen the whole series, so you don't know. Also, he's great in this videos. He's great in this movie.
Well, he's a great actor.
He is a great actor.
Like whatever you would put him in, he's great in. And then I was like quite pleased to see his face when I was looking at it. I was like, oh, great. Because he passed away recently, right?
Yeah. I mean,
this is like a CGI'd face version.
No.
Like, no.
Okay.
I don't know I didn't look up anything with this shit this time.
That's great. No, this was not his final film, but like he was, when on screen, he basically says, I have cancer too, like Iris.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be gone soon too. He's talking about himself. He was dying. That's why he's so emaciated thin in this film, is he didn't live much longer after this film. And his last words, which I mean, I could look them up, but it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. It doesn't matter for me to repeat them. But
smell you later, suckers.
Well, they kind of let him improvise those. Like the directors essentially said, like, because this is him saying goodbye to his fans. A lifetime of building his career.
It's like Top Gun 2, pretty much.
What do you mean?
With Val Kilmer.
Did he have
he has cancer in Top Gun 2, and he also has a sort of smell you later sort of.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
And then in his funeral, the two kids that are the character's kids are Val Kilmer's actual kids.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah.
That's actually really sweet. I had no idea.
Sweet, yeah.
So yeah, Tony Todd, the actor, basically got to choose his final lines in this series because it was literally him saying goodbye and literally saying, like, I'm going to be dead soon. For reals. I was going to say also that the other callback that I quite liked is the logs off the truck are a callback to, oh God, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 that's on the freeway.
Yeah.
But it's also, each of these movies in Final Destination are about a Scooby gang, right? Mm-hmm. Generally young people trying to figure out how to avoid death. This movie, it's a family. It's not a bunch of young college kids. It's about a family. And this movie's all about this family tree that Iris has written out, these elaborate family trees of death. and it's felled trees that are cut down and fly off a truck and kill our protagonist at the very end. It's an extension of the idea of the tree, of killing off and terminating the tree. I thought that was a nice use of a callback. It's not purely a member berry. They actually made it. It's super clever. I don't know how multi-layered it is, but
that's my
it was
callback to Fight Club. Oh, it's very clever. When he was like,
"What's Fight Club?"
Oh, in the movie Fight Club, it's a line that Tyler Durden says.
Who's Tyler Durden?
Are all these movies as well made as this movie is?
No.
Because what I will say is like everything is pretty tidy in this film. Like sound design is awesome.
It's awesome.
The effects are great. Even like the CGI blood is like fine.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty. Like I wouldn't say like, oh, it ruined it. Like it was totally fine.
Yeah.
I think the camera moves like so much that you're like, oh, I'm watching like a Buster Keaton thing. And the kineticness of all the kills are super fun. So the rest of them, some of them are kind of not great.
All the rest of them are fine. Like the first one was part of that moment in the 90s of I Know What You Did Last Summer, all of those Jeepers Creepers, all of those horror movies that were definitely a step up from the 80s slashers in terms of budget and quality and honestly acting. But we are in this era where all of these franchises have kind of gotten these boosts with far better cinematography, far better budgets. You know, it's legacy now, and film companies aren't afraid of actually investing in them anymore. So, I disagree about the acting. I think most of the acting in this movie is so good.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like maybe it's not so much the acting as much as I just didn't care for any of the characters at all.
Oh, see, that's another thing.
Not in a like a, oh, I don't like these characters. Just I literally did not care. Like nothing made me go like, oh, you know, like maybe the dude's black metal t-shirt for like 10 seconds. I was like, oh, maybe he'll be like the stoner of the movie, like, which my favorite trope is like the stoner that sees all. I think this franchise could use that type of character if it hasn't already had it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just
that's funny because I feel like one of the things I liked about it is that something that I liked about all of the original first 5 Final Destination movies was that it was carrying on the tradition of disposable teenagers, essentially. There's nothing to know about these kids. They're all one-dimensional. Whereas in this movie, especially I think because they're a family, you get more resonance from each of the characters. You get a little more depth. They all seem to have actual backstories with each other and outside of this movie that made them a little more sympathetic. Maybe not I'm forgetting her name, but the blonde sister. You don't get much from her. She has almost no lines before she gets killed smushed. In the garbage.
Yeah.
It's one of the best deaths I've ever seen.
I know, I showed it to Crystal and she was like, she does this thing when she's shocked but also delighted. And
Yeah. Also, in thrillers and horror movies, the building tense music and then the fake out and things like that. But not how she dies, but how she gets scooped up into the garbage can in the background. I think it's even out of focus. I loved so much. I thought it was just such a great choice to just kind of have it kick off.
Yeah.
Kind of in the background of a scene that's about other people talking.
It seems that's something like I associate with for some reason like Bong Joon-ho, or is that the guy that did Parasite? I can never remember his.
It sounds close.
Like the previous movie, not Parasite, but the one he did before it, which was the monster one.
Monster one.
Fuck, maybe I'm totally getting this filmmaker wrong. Anyway, it's something I associate with. I don't know, like maybe Marvel movies is what I'm thinking of, like especially the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Sometimes there'll be some sort of like mayhem in the background or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Something I also like about this franchise is it makes death a capital D. Like horror movies and almost all thrillers, they're about dying. They're about death. They're about a violent end.
It's happening to somebody.
Yep. But this movie, death comes because of one asshole with the scythe. You know what I mean? I think it's a really interesting way to approach death and mortality, is that they're not up against a serial killer or a stalker. They're up against death itself.
Yeah. And you never see death is like other than just like a shadow. Like there's never a
or some
character
wind.
that's like,
You get
hey,
the
I'm
wind
here.
chimes.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good choice to not like not actually personify death.
Yeah.
Although if in the next version of it, the guy that played Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey shows up, that would be fucking phenomenal.
That's really good.
That would be pretty solid.
I'm in.
I will say this movie does have rules-based horror. There's the pleasure of like, what if, or what would happen if, and or like why, like I think is another one. And something I was thinking about was like, why does this keep happening? Right? Like people keep cheating death, and it sort of seems to be a little bit, like was like the A-team not on board that day, were you slacking? Did you have a couple extra beers? So to me, it'd be funny if like in the books, I guess like this starts happening in the 1800s, so it could go before that or whatever, but it's just say it's the 1800s. Like maybe Death has just been drinking a little bit over the last 200 years and he has to go back and clean up after himself. So all these like super gratuitous Final Destination deaths are actually just bad style from a death perspective. It's just like a mistake.
Yeah.
Like, so these are just like kludgy painting over the cockroach, sort of like landlord special fixes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Or maybe just it's happening because he wants it to happen.
Sure.
But yeah, I appreciate that this film chooses not to answer any of those questions. Or maybe it does.
Well, no, and actually, as an extension of what you just said, most franchises would try to start to really explain things.
Yeah.
All the reboots, whether it's Rob Zombie's Halloween or whatever, it's about explaining.
Yeah, Phantasm
giving you too
is a
much
great example.
information.
Yeah.
Phantasm.
It gets progressively more explained.
Oh, I see.
As it goes. Yeah. But I think though, like, this is kind of like a license to print money. It's like, I imagine all these movies probably made money.
Yeah. And it could be a great TV series because, I mean, it's basically a Law and Order episode. Like, there's a format and we love that format, or I do. The people who love that format love the format. And someone like me would be perfectly happy to watch like 2 weird Rube Goldberg deaths every week for 10 years,
Yeah. Something I was thinking about though is like I watched a 10-minute long video of people getting killed by trains in India the other day. And
Jesus, where are you seeing that?
Just Instagram.
Really?
Yeah.
Death?
It was just on Instagram. Like
showing death on Instagram.
Showing people fucking around trains and the train going by and the person not being there anymore. Like, or God. Parts of them not being there anymore. And, you're watching that, you're like, it's almost like the silly cinema death doesn't really affect you as much if you can watch all this like crazy actual deaths.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
But I mean, probably not many people are watching Indian train deaths before watching this.
No, but I think that fair. But I think a layer to Final Destination as a concept is that it takes, so like in existentialism, the fact of death gives us all a freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And we become enabled to make choices. And in Final Destination, because you've somehow cheated death, you start to get to make these choices about death that are a lot more active than they tend to be for anybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
If death is coming for you imminently and you are figuring out ways to outsmart him, it becomes more literal how you are making choices in your life, but it also becomes more funneled. I mean, I think that's interesting. Stephanie's grandmother, Iris, for example, in a sense, most of us, our lives are largely based around avoiding death. Basically, working a job so that you can make enough money to house and feed yourself is just you staving off death.
Yeah, this is the whole Ernest Becker denial of death thing.
Yes.
Everything you do is just to
yes
make yourself not think about that.
Yes. Well, not think about it, but
or
also
just like
stave it
literally
off.
not have it happen either. Yeah.
But the more pressing it becomes, the more potentially your life is entirely about that. So in all of these movies, as soon as the characters realize what's happening, if they believe that it's actually happening, because they're often deniers and they usually get offed, is their entire life is consumed by avoiding death. It's not a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they're doing. And I think it's interesting with Iris, she makes the choice to step outside to give the book to her granddaughter, even though she's already written in her journal that she's going to get killed by a weather vane. She knows what's going to happen. But it's interesting that she and JB,
yeah.
Tony Todd's character, both have cancer, because that's something that happens as cancer progresses too, right? The more it progresses, the more it takes over your life. The more, potentially, again, depends how you want to approach it, but oftentimes it becomes everything. Your entire life is about dealing with this cancer. There becomes less and less outside of this thing that you're going to succumb to. And it's funny that in Final Destination Land, there's this game where the characters are given free will. They can actually outsmart death, the thing that none of us can do. They can do, but actually that's never actually true.
Yeah.
No one outsmarts death ever.
Yeah, everyone dies. Even if like a character makes it to the end of the film, they're like off in between films.
Yes, or the next film, or yeah, exactly. Which I love.
Yeah, nobody wins.
Nobody wins. It's the best.
Yeah, I guess this is like a pop nihilism film series.
Yes.
I mean, I get why people like it. You know, I just, to me, like, I could just watch smash cuts, and this might even be just a consequence of how I consume media now. But I started watching. There's a video, I think I sent it to you, of the director or somebody, or the writer, just talking about all the different deaths.
It's great.
And
it's the producer. Yeah.
Yeah, the producer. You could just almost just watch that, you know,
instead of the movies.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Okay. So
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying you could, you know, like that's a way of experiencing
it. I mean, you could also just watch cum shots instead of porn. And like, if that's your kink,
I mean,
obviously
do you need
that's
the person
cool.
do you need the person delivering the pizza though? You know what I mean? In the porn example, like, you know, like the, hello, your pizza's here. And like,
depends on who you are.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Waiting for that Cialis to kick in.
Okay, so something about this movie that I could not wrap my head around is Iris's, the grandmother's house. So she's been...
It's absurd. Like, there's so many pointy things.
Yeah, like it's the opposite. Like her... Okay, if I was her and I dedicated my entire life to outsmarting death and I had a helper, you know, JB, his being alive is predicated on keeping me alive. As long as I'm alive, he's alive.
Yeah.
So he wants me alive. So I've got a buddy. My whole life would be nerfed. You don't need spikes at moving cars. You need a complete absence of spikes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Like, because there's not a person you're stopping. You know what I mean? Like, her whole thing is like, it's like, what are you trying to stop? Fucking zombies? Like, what's going on here? It's like, it's so...
Like, barbed wire is not going to keep the Rube Goldberg machine. In fact, she's created an environment that is far more dangerous for her than anything else she could have produced.
Yeah.
Also, a house with like a lot of dark corners and it's falling apart. You want everything painted pristinely white so you can see everything at all times as best as possible.
For sure.
Not dark, spiky, rotting wood. Very strange.
Yeah. What was that movie, that Julianne Moore movie we watched, Safe? Yeah. You'd want an environment like that.
Yeah.
And if anything, when I was watching that clips of like all the different kills from it, it's like electricity and a flammable liquid spilling are like pretty much the go-to for every scene. So if you just lived like amongst the Amish, you'd probably be fine.
Oh, wow. That's really good.
Although, I mean, you killed in a barn raising or whatever. But I think just like the rules of the world, like there's always something somewhere that's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's like the idea of like trying to outsmart it by keeping like with like anti-personnel devices, essentially, like, because it's usually the deaths aren't... if anything, the deaths aren't from another human. You know, it's not like.
Well, that was on purpose. Remember, I think it was even said in the video that you sent to me, chronicling or explaining all the stunts, the deaths, is that they wanted to keep it out of other people and animals. Nothing sentient can be part of the death.
So like a bear doesn't eat someone's ass or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Right. I think the example was they originally had it in the script that in one of them that there was going to be like a deadly spider bite or something. And they were like, no, death shouldn't have to control a spider. It's got to be objects, which I think is a cool rule to follow.
Yeah, it's like
behind the scenes.
It's definitely one of those cool little things that like the restriction creates creativity for sure, you know. And I would love to just be in the writers' rooms for like coming up with these deaths, and then like I'm curious.
I wonder if they just have like thousands of them, and
I mean,
it's like writing a stand-up.
Well, I think about like with copywriting, right? Like I'm always looking at words on things all the time and thinking about like, oh, I like those two words together, or like, you know, like I'll be reading poetry or whatever. So I'm always thinking about like, oh, how can I repurpose this? And I imagine it's probably pretty similar. Like you're in line at the BART and you're like, oh, okay. I wonder what it would be like if one of these fucking dancer dudes fell down and broke his neck. And I bet they probably have notebooks just full of hilarious shit like that. I would if I was doing it this way. Because I was thinking about the process of this and how it really is just, they're so creative that they clearly come from people's fears, you know, like just definitely things that people would actually be like, ah! And so I tried getting ChatGPT to generate some Final Destination deaths, and they were terrible. Like,
do you remember any?
No, they're like, they were like just like the ones that existed, slightly changed a little bit. So it'd be like a bus comes down the street and runs into you. I was actually surprised that it even articulated any deaths, because a lot of the LLMs are pretty nerfed and won't let you to do that sort of shit. But it was so bad. I was like, well, the Final Destination writers are going to be the last of us to get laid off. Probably.
I have a question. As a lifelong coastal elite, if I may ask, you, someone who less so, do tattoo parlors not in San Francisco and New York look like that?
I don't know. I've only ever been inside one tattoo shop.
Ever?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
I have one tattoo.
No, but I'm sure. So you've only ever been inside a tattoo parlor to get a tattoo, and you got that tattoo, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
You didn't have friends that were tattoo artists and you went and partied there after hours?
I literally
nothing?
like no tattoo artists. It's crazy. I mean, I like
Ever?
I might have like worked a happy hour and Henry Lewis walked in and a friend of mine knew him. Like I knew him through his art, but I don't.
Like back in New Orleans? No.
I wasn't friends. See, like New Orleans, I mean, there definitely were tattoo parlors and things like that. Piercing shops, yes. Like interestingly enough, where I got like a lot of my piercings was this woman, Angel, who is Buck Angel. She was partners with Buck Angel. So like I like met Buck Angel in like the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like maybe like a piercing, like would you count a piercing studio? Like that only did piercing?
Sure, but that isn't here, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking it just.
And that one actually looked quite a bit like the shop in this.
Okay. Yeah. I just had this, you know, when you see something that you know represented in cinema and you go, that's not what that's like. Monique and I have had this running thing about how visual artists are represented in cinema. We could do a whole podcast about it. It's so weird.
The brother from Wedding Crashers is how they're.
I don't remember that. Can you remind me?
He's like an art school cretin, like a creature, like hunched over.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's not quite what I was thinking of, but that is completely consistent. Just to explain what I'm saying to our listeners, almost any representation of a visual artist or curator in a gallery or a museum in a Hollywood movie or in television are pretentious, condescending, evil, arrogant, and there's almost no deviation from this. And also, they don't talk like any artist it's not like I'm the authority on what artists are like, but I would say never speak the way I've ever heard an artist talk about their art or anybody else's art. It's just this complete fabrication where it seems that people who write screenplays have never talked to an artist and don't want to talk to an artist and are mad at artists. And I have a lot of theories about this.
It's like Lydia Dietz's mom in Beetlejuice is like such a parodied.
Sure. I mean, it like, and I feel like that's an outlier because it's played for comedy, but again, consistent with what I'm saying, you know?
Well, there's a dude like the Balky character in Lethal Weapon that's like a curator, is like pretentious and weird.
Yes.
You know, like, I mean, there's like
a bit endearing, but
yeah. I wonder,
still true.
I feel like this, I mean, this is certainly, we've been talking about tropes. It's kind of a trope. I would say it's a trope.
For sure.
Yeah. I associate it with 80s films for sure, which I think, if I were to guess, where screenwriters and art people probably interacted with the most was over cocaine. And so I think that's probably this screenwriter artist animosity probably has something to do with cocaine.
Okay. I guess we're going to talk about this. Here's my theory. I believe that I am right very deeply.
Okay. Let's hear it.
If you are in the Hollywood and New York cinema, TV world, it's pretty guaranteed that you went to school to get that job. Like, that's how you get into that world, is you study at CalArts or UCLA or, you know, oftentimes. And which means essentially you went to art school. And you are going to art school to pursue a commercial medium, right? And you are sharing the hallways with these people who are pursuing art for its own sake, without capitalist illusions. And in art school, there's almost this organic animosity that the visual arts students think you're a sellout, and they're right, because you're just trying to go hustle in this epically evil industry. The visual art industry is fucking evil too. So no illusions about that. Also, there's a thing that piggybacks on this, and trigger warning, kids. The women in the visual arts departments are hot and would never sleep with a filmmaker. And those filmmakers get rejected. And they go and get their revenge by creating evil, pretentious artists in their movies. This sounds really ridiculous. Like, I went to art school. I went to 2 art schools. I went to undergraduate and graduate art schools. And it's fucking real.
Well, I definitely think your art school caste theory can interact with my cocaine theory.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I don't think they're exclusive. But yeah, maybe. Like, who knows? I mean, it's definitely different disciplines that have like overlapping social circles, you know, and just enough of an overlap to like not create camaraderie.
Yes.
You know?
And it's interesting that it doesn't create camaraderie. It's almost like there are so few counterexamples that it almost proves that there's something happening. It's not an oversight. It is collectively deliberate.
Yeah.
Like Emily in Paris is an exception.
I wonder though.
But any Law and Order episode where there's a curator, they're horrible people. I mean, and they don't talk like real art people.
You're also though thinking about like a stereotype. Like it's just essentially a stereotype, and there's like a million other stereotypes in film. Just they're like short.
Absolutely.
You know, you're like, hey, here's the pompous butler, or like the busybody neighbor woman, or you know. So who knows?
For sure. Yeah.
It could be like a thing that's just been around since Aristophanes and just pops up. You know, like there's a bunch of stuff like that. Because I was trying to think about like how old is like a shocking death played for like ironic or comedic, or you know, like the deaths aren't just to terrify you in Final Destination. They're to entertain you and titillate you. And like sure enough, it goes back to the frogs, Aristophanes. There's like events, things like that happening in the background and stuff. So I think this mayhem, these tropes have probably been around forever.
For sure. Reason why I brought this up is watching the tattoo shop. My first thought was, this is an absurd fictional version of what a tattoo shop ever looks like.
Why is it so dark? Isn't art being done in here?
It's dark and it looks dirty and it looks scary. And of course he's listening to some variant of death metal. Was it? I thought it was.
No,
close.
it was.
It wasn't Slayer, but it was like more often that sort of.
Probably something that's very popular amongst a slightly younger group of metal fans.
Unless it was something they got for cheap.
Funny you mentioned that for cheap. Like there's a lot of high dollar songs in this franchise.
But they might have. But those are played for recognition, and it might have been like, it doesn't matter. It's just got to be metal.
Just whatever here. Yeah.
Just my buddy's in a metal band. Just throw him a few $1,000s and we can move on. So I'm just so curious because it could just be possible. Like, yeah, Mark, you've never been in a tattoo shop outside of a major metropolitan area. They're actually kind of like that. I don't know.
Everything I know about tattoo shops, other than my one tattoo experience, is just from TV shows, like tattoo TV shows.
Yeah.
So
it sort of also reminds me of like the trope of a biker bar or a bar where bad people go.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I've been to some small town bars. They're often exactly like that. Maybe just fewer leather vests, but kind of not far off.
I was listening to a podcast recently of this FBI dude who's like an undercover biker guy.
Oh,
and
yes.
It's like like he's just describing TV show bars.
Yeah.
Like I was, and it was so goofy and on the nose that I was like, is this guy full of shit? It'd be like, I was like, is he like going to fight the Kumite? Or, like, is that like the level of what's going on here?
What else have we got? I do love that the final siblings, Death doesn't take them out until they learn that they haven't outsmarted Death. It's not that they didn't outsmart Death and Death caught up with them. It's that they're fine. And then some guy goes, oh, no. That's not what happened to you. And then they're dead within seconds, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely like indicates that the Death of this world or this universe likes fucking with people.
Yes.
And there's something about that I just cannot hate.
Yeah.
It's great. It's one of the best things about this. Also, it's just like the writers. I mean, again, I wish there must be out there, like, I didn't see any interviews with writers for it that I could find, which I was, somebody has to come up with this stuff. I don't think it's like, although it might be Marvel-like in the way that they're like, okay, they have a whiteboard and there's like, okay, 30 hilarious ways to kill people. And I bet, I don't know this, but I bet what they do is I bet they just brainstorm a bunch of ways to kill people. And the best ones go to the top. And I bet the second and third best ones become the red herrings.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, like that's, I don't know.
But I also love that there was, again, that video about all the kills by the producer. He described was it in 3 or I forget, the tanning, the one that happens in the tanning booth, but not the tanning booth death. The one where the guy thinks he's going to get a sexy massage and he actually gets acupuncture and then he dies. That originally he just burned to death.
Mm-hmm.
But they felt like it didn't play well enough. And I guess the actor improvised when he walked into the massage parlor. Did I say massage or tattoo?
Massage.
I did say massage. Yeah. When he walked in, he like patted the Buddha statue on the belly and made a comment about his eating. And they were like, oh, why don't we have him killed by a Buddha statue? And that actually becomes a really great death. I like that one was kind of made in process. It wasn't like brainstormed in a writer's room for a month and was the 3x5 card that made it to the top. It's one that they shot and then ended up doing a reshoot to make it even better.
I love stuff like that. To me, like what's really great about that is it's the sign of like a really collaborative group of people to let stuff like that happen. I was thinking about that death too. I didn't know that detail about it, but it's really funny. And it makes me think even more that it's probably really fun to work on these movies. Like I bet people who work on Final Destination, like in that same video, they talked about how like one of the dudes that gets killed in the first movie, he's like the stuntman rigger.
Yes.
In the movie. And so you're like, oh, people have probably like grown their careers up on the Final Destination films. And it's probably great. Yeah. It's probably a really fun thing. I bet you could probably have had your whole career just be doing something for Final Destination films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, just to bring up that interview one more time, he has the anecdote about one of the stunt guys, piece of metal flew and like sliced his head open on set to where like his scalp flapped Did you catch this?
No.
Oh, just in one of the stunts in one of the earlier films, I think it was 2 maybe, literally a piece of metal flew and hit a stunt guy in the head and scalped him. Like ripped his scalp,
really?
like so that it flapped off his skull. He went to the ER, and I guess he just came back to set later that night with a bunch of staples in his head.
Why not?
And it's like, how's it going?
Again, like that's the kind of
ready for work, sir.
Right, but like that again is workplace health. Like somebody who's like, I'm coming back to work. Somebody who's
This
really
shit's
excited.
fun.
Yeah, like
he didn't want to miss a moment.
Yeah, imagine if your job was so rad that you came back within hours of getting stitches for it.
Right.
Like
totally.
If I stubbed my toe hard, I'd leave a fucking shift at the bar.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I noticed about this house, I was like, oh man, suburban excellence, is I noticed that their backyard bar had a soda gun on it.
So good.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I guess if you have
I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
You got to buy the syrups and shit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, this is so inside baseball, but I was like, where did the syrups go? Have you done much catering with portable bars?
Never.
I did a lot of that. And some of them would have the guns, but they would never be set up. Like they would, or they would, maybe you would have like, sometimes you would just have soda from
right.
it. So it was basically just like
easier to clean if you don't have syrups.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, portable, attaching and detaching and cleaning the lines of all those syrups.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Yeah, I saw some great meme. It was like, I don't want you to talk to me about wealth inequality if you don't know what this sounds like. And it was just like a rack of the sodas. That that noise when they end.
Yep.
It's like so like a specific noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it too well.
Yeah. It's funny those like restaurant noises. Like that's when like the scene in The Bear where the ticket machine is just spitting tickets out like over and over and over again. It's like, oh, that noise is so...
It hurts.
It hurts the soul. Yeah.
It's funny. I'm just looking. I didn't take very good notes. I have a template, like a Google Doc template.
Interesting.
That it just has a lot of like sort of questions to ask myself about. And it also has a lot of the things that we've sort of covered over the years, but I didn't really use it for this one, but I'm looking at a blank one. And I'm just realizing how much this film ticks like every scary thoughts trope box, like rules of engagement. Yeah, this movie is all about rules of engagement.
I was thinking about that.
Methods of vanquishment. That is exactly what this movie is based on. Collective dread. Totally. Progressive entrapment. Yeah,
that's the whole deal.
That's the whole deal.
Yeah.
The suspension of disbelief. Like, what does it ask you to suspend your disbelief? Yeah, death is a Rube Goldberg, Rube Goldberg machinations. Yeah, it's just funny that all of our sort of like little like phrases we've developed over the years, this movie really synthesizes all of them very acutely.
Yeah. I guess I could see why you like it as a thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Another, although one thing, sorry everybody, that I know is tiresome about this podcast is the thing that I bring up every fucking episode because it's in every fucking movie that we talk about.
Titties.
I'm sick of them. Is music.
Yeah.
The music choices are cute and clever, but like, I really have this question. In 50 years, are we going to watch movies that have like CCR needle drops in them? Are we going to have hair metal and synth pop? Just music that... Is it going to still just be milking the 60s, 70s, and 80s for needle drops in cinema? Like, when are we going to stop filling our films with music that is now 50 years old?
Man, I think as long as film is in conversation with itself, probably forever. Because that Ring of Fire isn't just a Johnny Cash song. It's the song that plays before somebody dies in a Final Destination movie. So like if you've watched that, that's your reference. Like these songs they kind of jump out of their decade that way. Like that Tiny Tim song, Tip through the Tulips. Like it's now a horror movie thing. I can't remember what movie it's in, but it's in.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I know what you're saying though. It's like, like, do we get a Charlie XCX needle drop 10 years from now?
But I don't think we do because we're still milking music from like 67 to 88.
Yeah.
Basically.
I wonder how it'll work. Cause like,
it's not like songs from 1999 or 2005. Those songs are decades old and they are not part of this issue.
Yeah. It was Crystal and I, my wife, for listeners who might not know that, I'm sure anybody listening to this probably knows that. I don't know why we keep mentioning it. Do you know that like Hedi Slimane jeans are back?
What are?
Hedi Slimane.
I don't know who that
Prince
is.
of Darkness. Like all the super skinny dark jeans and the pointy boots and like the shaggy black hair, like that whole look of like the horrors.
Like the Horrors first album?
Yeah, and all that stuff. That's like the designer Hedi Slimane, who was I think creative director at Louis Vuitton at the time, or Comme des Garçons or something. Anyway, that look is now back. The super skinny. I was like, I knew it.
I'm into it.
I was like, if I held one of these jeans long enough, it would be fine. I was like, I can skip this whole baggy pants thing, which I knew was driven by COVID fatness anyway.
True.
But I was watching some video and they were talking about these jeans, and it was like they were like, yeah, the 2004 Hedi Slimane runway show was like when lapels and ties and trousers shrank. And I was like, oh yeah. It's like, it's been 21 years. And I was thinking about like, it's like the 70s when I was in high school.
Yeah.
It's the same distance of time. It's just so weird to, like you're just old. Like it just happens to everybody when they get to a certain age.
Yeah, but I have a very firm belief, that an extreme style, something that is really noteworthy, like I'll just say bell bottoms, right? Because that's really obvious.
Yeah, low-rise jeans are the version of that that's coming back. Yeah.
If you're old enough that you wore it back then, don't wear it again.
Yeah,
when something comes back into style,
yeah,
don't ride that second wave.
Yeah,
it's unbecoming.
100%, 100%. Although I still wear fucking Converse. I still basically,
but it's a staple. I mean, like, not to poo-poo your fashion choices. Well, you know what I will. That's so boring and basic that I think it doesn't apply.
Yeah. I'm dressed exactly the same as I was dressed 20 years ago.
But you're also wearing
like the clothes designed to blend in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sort of thinking about this more in terms of like fashion versus style.
Yeah.
Although there is this interesting thing, I can't remember if I brought this up before, and this is Monique's observation that I totally agree with, that oftentimes people, they find what looks best on them in their 20s, usually their early 20s, and then a lot of people just stop. And if it is kind of an invisible basic, that doesn't matter so much. But for some people, it's very extreme. And so they're still wearing that weird fashion choice for decades, and it starts to look weird.
Yeah, the San Francisco hipster of this style, I'll see dudes rocking this kind of stuff still to this day, like DJs that we both know. And you're like once the Grover body sets in, it's kind of rough to keep rocking it, Wow,
I've never heard the expression Grover body, but
you know what I mean.
I know what you mean very well.
We're a body shaming podcast here at Scary Thoughts. We shame in all directions. Yeah, like you can't, like you're supposed to give that shit to your kids. That's like the order of nature, Yeah. Like, here you go.
Yeah, let your kid discover it in a trunk in the attic.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I forgot I used to wear that.
Yeah. Jinkos.
Like Jinkos.
I never had Jinkos.
Me neither.
I never. You've been on a pants journey lately. How do you feel about your self-edge journey?
It's hard because I have no money at the moment. I'm really in the I'm starting a new career moment.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be as frugal as possible. But yeah, I mean, I'm just it's workwear is fun. And the whole denim universe is really goofy. It's really goofy. Like the selvage denim, like Reddit world, it just as an aside, I don't know, this is really obvious, but it seems to be mostly straight men taking photos of their bodies to share with other straight men online, which is kind of beautiful.
I mean, that's factually what's happening.
It is literally what is happening. Yeah. It's kind of beautiful, but like a lot of things that are homosocial, you wonder how self-aware the people invested in this process are.
Yeah. Similar things in jiu-jitsu, like,
100%.
It's where you're hugging people more than any place ever.
Yeah,
I've had more physical contact in jiu-jitsu than probably with anything outside of sex.
Yes. So you're literally smelling of other men.
Yeah.
Until you shower.
Yeah. And certain kinds of women.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but mostly men.
I will say the new jiu-jitsu culture is very self-aware of it in the way that like the Marines are in Generation Kill. Like there's like the famous Craig Jones shirt, "Keep Jiu-Jitsu Gay."
Yeah.
The only people who are not aware of it are the Brazilians.
Yes.
Like who apparently hate it with the hottest of fire. Like they hate all of the goofiness and all of the autism jokes, and like a lot of it comes from Craig Jones, and I think they hate Craig Jones. But
who's that?
Craig Jones runs B Team. He's this Australian dude, and he is like the principal troll of the jiu-jitsu world. I think he is fucking hilarious. Australian dude. Yeah. A lot of his content is just like cocaine and lady girls or lady boys or whatever. I can't remember which one it's supposed to be. And just like trolling jiu-jitsu legends. But he's also pretty good too. But famously always comes in second place. So that's why his team is called the B Team. But yeah, like jiu-jitsu has been overrun by meme culture. It's like very online. Yeah. Which I don't know. It's pretty fun. I think it's funny.
Sure.
Yeah. But it is homosocial.
Deeply.
Yeah.
Which I'm all for. I just find it interesting when you see something that feels really, really straight, but the expressions of it feel very, very homosexual.
Yeah. There's another weird thing about it too. It has very much like these guys could have just easily ended up collecting model trains.
Yeah.
Like, so it's all fashion, right? There's a lot of people who just don't look very good in this shit.
True.
And it's like, there's no concern over fit for them. There's like, these are the rainbow weft whatevers, and
careful, I have rainbow weft. So.
Right, but like some people will just have them because of what they are.
Yeah.
And then some people have them because that particular pair of jeans looks good on them. And there's a little bit of both, which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like the appreciation for the object itself in a way that like,
which I think is really fun and interesting.
Totally,
because
I like
denim
it too.
Denim has this really long, really fascinating history. It's woven through fashion and style. There's so many different tangents of how it has iterated itself, whether it's the acid wash jeans of the 80s or the selvage workwear explosion now, or the shrink to fit moment, how stretch jeans are everywhere now. All of it. I think it's super fascinating. Another funny thing I find about selvage culture is like the way people are like, use the word fade as a verb, like, yeah, I can hardly wait to fade these jeans. But they're talking about it as if it's something noble when it's in fact just putting on pants and living your life.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Tim about this too, is it's like, imagine if it was like people thought that about their new car. Like, I can't wait till the sun bleaches out the hood of my Prius. Or, like the other forms of like micro damage to objects being although people do like patina on cars. People will clear coat over patina so it stays.
Oh,
like
really?
That.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, it is not. It is gay.
I know.
In the negative sense of the word, not the positive sense of the word.
There's only positive.
The South Park sense of the word.
Nope. But I think the thing is like not only, but leather and denim are two things that the more you use it, the character really is
100%.
Like
cool.
This chair I'm sitting in, it'll only get worse. It's not going to develop character. It's some sort of fabric, resilient fabric. I don't know. Most of the things in this room, they're just going to get used and look worse. But your denim jacket is probably going to look better someday.
Yeah.
But you can't be like, I'm fading this jacket. Like, no, you're just wearing it. It's a garment that's protecting your body from the cold. There's not this more noble thing you're doing. It would be like attaching meaning to like carrying your keys out the door when you went outside.
Yeah. Or like you would hope that the going outside would have some sort of effect on the key. You're like, oh, the air quality is very moist today or whatever. Like this will Hopefully it'll increase the verdigris of my copper belt chain, like, or whatever. But, it's also, I think, it marks individuality. It marks time. It's sort of,
Yeah.
And then a lot of this, like the physical objects I have are objects that either have a little patina, like the vintage stuff I have has a little bit of patina on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like my bookshelves, for example, perfect example. Like they're like 50-year-old metal bookshelves from a Los Altos school. And so they were originally this kind of dark red and they faded to like a pink. So they look sick. Like
that sounds cool.
Yeah, they're super cool. And they're like steel. My desk, like I have that old tanker desk that's like powder coated and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I wish I had more, although I never had the money for this, but I'd like to have some more collectible guns, like sort of like more like Western type stuff, or
just
like cool revolvers and things like that. Like they're kind of interesting.
Sorry, I have no connection to gun culture, but like, sorry, how do I put this? There would be something really interesting if, like, okay, ostensibly you have firearms primarily, I guess. I mean, you could go like target practice, but
they're basically
self-defense.
They're like fire extinguishers, pretty much. They're just there for like a negative event.
Right.
Yeah.
But it would be pretty amazing if you had like some sort of collectible, and for some reason that was the most easily accessed thing when something happened, where an emergency did happen and you ended up defending yourself, or God forbid killing an intruder with a 150-year-old pistol. Both for you, because you're like, this happened, and then just for that to be known, like, home defense. It hasn't evolved much.
Yeah, could you imagine you just blast somebody with a black powder revolver? Like, you're just like, whoa! You hit somebody with your blunderbuss. Like, what is it? I think that's in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
Is it?
Yeah, they go to like steal shit from this house, and it's the Two Smoking Barrels are these like $250,000 hunting rifles or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I forget that movie.
I'd like that, man. If I had more money, I'd like to get it back into vintage motorcycles one day. Like that was, but there's never like back then I could lose a day to the bike breaking down in Salinas and finding a way to get it back. Now, like there's no fucking way I could spend a whole day getting a Vespa back running,
Well, I feel like motorcycles being the domain of younger people, generally speaking, of course, it becomes something that older people, mostly older men,
they get back into
because it represents a certain kind of freedom. But the reality of that freedom is having the flexible time to deal with your fucking Indian breaking down
totally
200 miles from home.
Yeah.
When you're young, it's an adventure and a story. When you're old, it just fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And makes you go like, I will never do this again.
Yeah. Tim George, listener of the show, friend of mine for 20 something years. He always used to say the best part of the road trip is when you break down.
Right.
And I've been on a pretty extensive road trip with him, a couple actually, and notably the one that led me to living in San Francisco. And it was kind of true. Like every time we broke down, something wild would happen. I remember like my gas tank just started leaking out of nowhere when we were like northern Louisiana. It was just like spilling gas everywhere. And we're like, fuck. And we're like on the side of the road. And I, of course, don't know how to fix it or anything. I'm like totally reliant on these dudes to help me out. And we're fixing it. And there's like a high-speed car chase that just happens next to us, and it's like goes back and forth like 6 times. Like we're in the middle of nowhere. It's probably just like the local notorious drunk in his box Chevy just blasting up and down this like in the middle of nowhere, like I-80 road or something like that. And you would have never seen that otherwise. And like there were a lot of times we broke down that you would see something, or you'd have to interact with, especially in the old days, you'd have to interact with somebody. You'd be like, hey, do you have a whatever? Yeah. Can you ship it to me? You like beg some dude in Italy to ship you or whatever, Yeah. Now part of the adventure is the high thread count sheets that I stay at when I stay at luxury places. That's what I like to do now.
So nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can also just rent a bike that has been kept up very, very well.
I've done that a couple of times. I haven't owned a motorcycle in a while. I rented that Harley, which was super fun.
Oh, I don't remember this.
Oh, this is a few years back. My buddy has a full bagger Harley, and I had always had kind of disdain for those motorcycles. I thought they were just like the domain of like dentists who wanted to get their Sons of Anarchy on. And
you know what? Good for them.
Yeah, fine, whatever. Better that than other things. But they're fucking great. I had no idea how much fun it would be to ride one of those. But like just listening to like Waylon Jennings on the radio, like driving to San Diego on like a Harley Street glide is pretty fun.
That sounds great. Something I discovered is that for our listeners who have not really spent time in the Bay Area, north of here, from San Francisco, you cross the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's kind of some of the most beautiful terrain on planet Earth.
Yeah, it's
great. Incredible up there. And unfortunately for me, in my later years, I've developed motion sickness. Like I can't be in a car and go up there very far because
if you're driving?
Even if I'm driving, I turn green. My vision starts getting wavery. I've never taken drugs and had someone else drive. Monique doesn't really drive. So I can't just take some sort of anti-nausea medication and let her drive. So it means like my favorite place on earth, which is like 2 hours north of here, is kind of off limits to me because I can't get there. But I did learn that if I'm riding a motorcycle, it's fine. So yeah, let's rent bikes. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. My buddy Gene has been trying to get, you have a motorcycle license, right?
Yeah.
My buddy Gene, who I go on all these motorcycle trips with, he's been wanting to do a northern run.
Great.
Yeah. So it'd be pretty fun. Hopefully we wouldn't get final destinationed on our motorcycle trip.
This episode of this podcast would go viral though.
Maybe. Get up to like 200 downloads.
We did it.
Something I've noticed interesting is a swarm of bots following the various social media accounts.
Really?
Yeah, I just delete them out.
Thank you.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Do you have anything else on this movie? I feel like
Yeah, I don't have any. I mean, I don't.
I feel like we dug in pretty deep for a while there. So and just started talking about jeans and motorcycles. Like, man,
yeah. This is what the people want.
This is the man hour.
Yeah. If the rules worked that you could kill somebody and take their life, what would you do?
Is this two questions? Like, who do I want dead? And you're asking me to come up with a clever...
We're assuming that the rule works like it's talked about in this movie.
If I wanted to stave off,
if you wanted to stave off
baby Hitler,
you would just kill baby Hitler.
I would go back in time and kill baby Hitler, and then I'd get what did he die at, like 42 or something?
But you wouldn't have a time machine to go back in time in Final Destination. You know,
it's probably,
I mean, in one way, it's like asking who you would want to kill. It could also ask like, how do you want to kill?
Yeah, but the problem is like, to make it worth it, they've got to be young enough that you could assume that it would actually buy you some time, as opposed to, honestly, most of the people that I think the world would be better without are quite old and probably disappearing soon. There aren't too many young people of serious consequence, either on a, geopolitical scale or in my personal life, that I want gone. So my petty answer is like that fucking barista that I'm still irritated with.
Yeah.
Fuck them. But that's dumb. There's no barista. I just made that up. I'm sorry. I don't really have a good one for that. What do you have something in mind?
Yeah. Abortion doctor. Boom. Just sucking up lives all day. Babies, extended lives. They got their full life ahead of them. You just like,
oh, you're saying you would become an abortion. I thought you meant you would kill an abortion doctor.
No.
I mean, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, I'm just saying that would probably
be... You would
be
become
like,
an abortion doctor and, holy shit.
Yeah, you would just be like, nom, all day with the lives.
Well done.
Yeah. That's really one option, Also, I mean, if you did want to go to war with gerontocracy, you could make it up by smothering old people and...
Just constantly.
Yeah.
Your version of abortion doctor presupposes that life
begins at conception. Correct.
So what have we learned?
You could probably just watch YouTube clips and skip all these films if you haven't seen them.
Again, not
that is okay.
Not
I will
true.
say something that is unfair about
watch the whole porn film. Don't just watch a super cut of the money shots.
I mean, or do. But I will say that...
Well, you can't watch a super cut of the money shots and say, I watched those porn movies.
Right. You can't do that now. I will say, though, you wouldn't want to watch just the deaths. Like the tension is built very well.
That's it.
You know, like
and even the minimal investment in the characters and the lore.
I don't think you need to know a single thing about the people as they're killed.
Watching their journey, I think, contributes. Even like if that's even true of disposable teenagers in Friday the 13th. Like you need to see the straight couple like wander away to go fuck behind the cabin to have any sort of like the context starts to matter.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Something I was going to mention earlier is I like about these films is even though I do like the moralizing deaths of the 80s, like I think there's something funny about like, you know, like, oh, you touched your titty, now you're killed by a titty. Like that whole Freddy Kruegerisms. Like I think that shit's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And obviously it's like rooted in like Tales from the Crypt morality plays, older morality plays. There's not so much of this. Like there is like sometimes like, oh, you're a guy that does piercings or you're killed by your piercings. So there's some of that, but there's not a lot of like,
oh,
right. Kind of still, they still kind of do contribute to his death. Anyway, I knew the dick was going to have a piercing in it too. I just absolutely knew it. It was hilarious, but there's not really like slut shaming in the show,
right?
In the Final Destination, it's not like a lot of like in 80s horrors, your hormones would lead to your death, and it seemed very unfair.
Yeah, some of the other Final Destination movies do have that sort of thing, like
horny deaths.
Well, somewhat, or more moral, like the suntanning booth deaths are, tied to their vanity.
Oh, okay.
And like that same one where the guy wants he thinks he's gonna get some hot Asian woman to rub him out for a massage, and he gets killed.
He disrespects the Buddha.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that.
Not known
it's not
for
explicit,
his vengeance, really.
Yeah. Would you want to be taken out in a Final Destination style so that after you're gone, there's a fucking story?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be way more. Because it's like, I mean, obviously, if it wasn't like too painful for too long,
yeah,
like that would suck for sure. But I don't know. I think I'd rather just sneak out the door quietly. Like
if you had your choice.
I mean, to me, the worst would be like if you ended up the subject of like TikTok reaction videos. Ugh, that would be like the worst.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
that's the world we live in. So you have your choice. Do you want to just die in your sleep? Or do you want to, maybe the death is instantaneous, but there's this wacky series of events that lead up to it. And then everybody who ever knew you for the rest of their lives are like, yeah, but did you hear about my friend Chad?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think, unless it was like heroic. Yeah, I would accept.
There are no heroes in
Final Destination. I don't think I'd want to go out Final Destination style.
Okay, so you don't.
Yeah. What about you?
No, fuck no.
No, yeah.
No.
I know. Is there any of my stuff that you want if I die?
All your books.
You want all of them? You have to take all of them, like for real.
Well, I mean, I would be happy to take all of them and sell the ones I don't want.
You can do that too.
Which is probably all the graphic novels, which would make someone very happy, and keep mostly for the art books.
Yeah. I have a pretty good art book collection.
You have a lot of novels that I would love to get to when I outlive you and retire.
Yeah. I would like my copy of Blood Meridian to go to my friend Sarah because she would appreciate it the most.
Put it all in your will.
Yeah. Did I tell you about my ghost outfit idea I had?
No.
Do you know about ghost outfits? The whole thing?
I guess not.
Okay. So the idea is that like, this is sort of like fashion horror adjacent idea, which is that in many films, when you die, that's what your ghost is wearing. So you should probably be pretty thoughtful about what you're wearing at all times because you don't want to die in Crocs or whatever.
I try to live that way.
So I was thinking about for somebody going from like essentially wearing only basics to stylish, it would be fun to do a project called like 13 Ghost Outfits. And so you have to build a complete outfit, like the whole thing, and like catalog it or whatever. So you'd be like, here's my Western wear, here's my barista outfit, here's my whatever. But they would all be cool so that you could die in an interesting, timeless fashion way and always be dressed well for death. I'm
sorry, I don't get the Western barista. What are these
categories?
There
would just be different outfits. Like here's my like tuxedo. Here's my so you would have your different outfits. It would be like things that you would wear, but it would be like a complete look that you would be okay dying in.
Shouldn't you dress that way anyway?
Yeah, you probably should. But I don't.
Are you dressed that way right now?
I think I could die in this.
I think the answer is no.
What? With my black jeans and black shirt and black socks?
Those jeans are gray. They're probably 5% synthetic.
They used to be black.
You're wearing a Henley. You don't want to die in a Henley.
Yeah, this is like definitely.
You're wearing a baseball hat, dude.
Yeah, dude. My hair.
Ghosts don't wear baseball hats.
Yeah, they do. This ghost.
Name one.
Name one ghost that wears a baseball hat. That's a good question. There's got to be one.
None of the good ones.
Yeah, I mean, no famous ghosts. Closest, I guess, you get is the ghost of Christmas Past and Scrooged. He wears the cabbie hat.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty cool ghost.
Yeah, it is. It's not a baseball hat.
No,
it's just a hat.
Fuck. There's just...
Yeah,
hold on.
You're not
ghosts that wear baseball hats. If there's one,
I just want to point out you brought this up.
No, it's fine. Ghosts that wear baseball hats.
I'm wearing 100% cotton from head to toe.
Yeah, but that's just going to become ectoplasm. So who gives a fuck, right?
Well, no, I mean,
how are there no ghosts that wear baseball? There has to be one.
Let it go, Chad. You're wearing the wrong outfit
for death.
Well, and life.
What is going on here? There's none. There's no famous baseball ghosts.
Yeah. By the logic.
There's even football ghosts in Beetlejuice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're the one who brought this up. And by the logic.
Eat a dick. I can't believe I didn't even think about this. Field of Dreams.
Nobody's it doesn't matter.
It's a whole baseball team of ghosts.
I've never seen it and I don't care.
No. If you build it, they will come.
Nope.
Yep.
Thanks for listening. Oh, wow. There could be a really good porn parody of Final Destination.
There has to be.
I should have looked this up before
Final Penetration or whatever.
Well done. Good job. Nice.